Hey everybody, my name's Andy, Great Care Lawn Service, and in this video we're going to talk about one of the most beneficial things that you can do for your lawn, and that's the core aeration. We typically recommend to get this done in the fall time after the last heat wave goes past us, usually around Labor Day, and you want to give the lawn about a month or so to heal before it freezes. So typically Halloween, there's about a 7 or 8 week period after the last heat wave, Labor Day to Halloween. This is also a great time to get some seed down, so if you aerate, go ahead and throw some seed down on the bare spots. Now, what is the core aeration? It's a process in which takes cork-sized plugs out of the ground, it creates holes, and takes the plugs out of the ground. The plugs lay on top of the grass, eventually break back down. It creates a great environment for your lawn to grow, for your roots to expand. It reduces compaction, reduces the thatch layer, and allows all the nutrients, everything your soil needs, everything your roots need, water, air, fertilizer to get down into the roots, and it expands the roots and it increases the health of the blade. Now we usually recommend doing one in the fall time, but if you can, do two. And if you do one in the spring, one in the fall, that's great. If you do it in the spring, there's a small window. You want to let the ground heal up before the crabgrass sprouts. So you only have about 5 weeks before the crabgrass, before the ground temp comes up to 58 or 60 degrees. That's when the crabgrass will begin. And you only have about 4 or 5 weeks after the snow melts before that happens. So you typically only have about a 1 or 2 week window in the springtime to do the aeration. But if you can do it twice, that's great. That's the time frame, again in the fall. So in a minute, I'm going to show you this bluebird in action. I'm going to show you some of the mechanics, some of the operation about it, course precaution, safety equipment, understand your environment. It's a pretty aggressive machine. And also, mark all the sprinkler heads, mark the underground dog fence, mark any wires that are close to the surface that you know about because you will hit them. If you are going to do this yourself, trim the grass down as low as you can right before you do it. As we all know, summertime we raise the mower deck up. We cut it at a high level. In the fall time when the grass begins to grow again, we lower it back down 2.5 inches, give the lawn a crew cut right before you do it. That'll maximize the size of the plugs you're going to pull. And timing can be difficult, but if you can manage it, do it when the lawn's a little bit moist, a little bit wet, either in the morning, or if you do have a sprinkler system, turn that on for a little bit. If the ground's wet, grass is short, you're going to maximize the plugs you're going to pull.
So this is the bluebird right here. That's the machine. Be very common if you do rent one. It'll be similar to this, probably a different model, but similar to this. I'll go in the front first. You can see that there's 2 of these. You can see how heavy that is. That's 36 pounds. One on each side. There's a little tab there, holds it in. Just adds a little bit more weight so the tines dig in just a little bit deeper, get that extra little bit. See that drum in the front, that little wheel, that's connected to the tines. They spin together. You'll see that in a minute. So this is a pretty common small engine. Start it up, turn it on, choke, a little bit of throttle, 1 pull, it's running. Now we're going to run that full throttle. You can see how it goes. It's really only one control here. You pull on this, and it spins the tine. It's going to spin that drum in the front too. That's really it. You pull that and you go, you let it go and you stop. You see the tines, a little bit less than an inch plugs it pulls. Once you engage them, they spin. And now you can see this bottom lever there. You'll see me use it in a second right there. When I drop that, it actually picks up the wheels go up and the tines go down. So now it's digging into the soil. So you drop the tines and you go, watch out for the deck. You may want to start in the middle if you've never used this before. Again, it's a pretty aggressive machine. This I think might shift the deck over if you crank the post there. But you see, lift up the tines, move the machine, drop the tines, engage the tines, and it goes. And you're gonna see this drum spinning in the front, that wheel. Yeah, it's useful when you're maneuvering around, getting it in and out of the trailer, out of the truck, when you're getting it into position. But when you're actually aerating, that drum is just sticking in the air. So again, you drop the tines. I'm holding the handle pretty low. You really want to put all the weight on those tines. It is self-propelled. Those tines do a great job pulling you around. Don't go over the cliff there. Another good angle of it. You're gonna want to keep the handlebars parallel to the ground as you can to make sure all the tines are hitting. It's actually a pretty narrow machine, so I think it'll shift left and right quite a bit on you. So here's a good illustration. Stop, pull up, spin it into place, drop it back down, pull the trigger, and away it goes. So here's actually a tough little slope. It's going away and down to the bottom right. When you're doing a slope like that, you're going to have to pull up on one side and push down on the other. Again, to keep the handle as parallel to the ground as possible to make sure all the tines are in the ground. This machine does move pretty fast. I say this lawn is close to 8,000 square feet total. It's around the back on the other side, and it probably only took me about 30 minutes, 35 minutes to do it. 10K, 10,000 square feet should take you less than an hour. As you can see, this is a good shot. You see how tippy it is, really. It's not going to flip over, certainly, but you're going to have to give it a little bit of muscle to keep all the aerated blades in the ground. So that's basically it. Pretty easy machine. Again, I would start in the center. Make sure nobody's around you. Mark all the sprinkler heads. Mark the underground dog fence. It will absolutely hit the dog fence. You'll end up splicing that thing. So I hope this helped. It looks like it's getting away from me there a little bit, so I think I'm going to go. No, wait, stop!